The doctor said I was lucky to survive. The officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I said no, because the man who pushed me down the basement stairs was my own son. My name is Mark, and I am 55 years old. And what happened that night changed everything between us forever. Welcome to my YouTube channel Whisper Stories, where silence speaks. My name is Mark, and I am 55 years old. At 55, you think you understand your children. You think you've seen every version of them, the toddler who clung to your leg, the teenager who slammed doors, the young adult who insists they know better. You believe that no matter how far they drift, somewhere deep down, they still carry your voice in their conscience. I believed that, until the night my own son's hands were on my chest, and the world tilted beneath my feet. It happened on a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic about Tuesdays. They are ordinary days, the kind that pass quietly, unnoticed. I had just come home from work. I've been an electrician for over 30 years. My hands are rough, my back aches, but I've always taken pride in providing. Providing was my language of love. My son Ethan is 26, smart, talented, restless. He had moved back in a year ago after a few setbacks, as he called them. Lost job, lost girlfriend, lost direction. I told him the same thing I'd told him his entire life. This is your home. What I didn't realize was that to him, it wasn't home. It was a reminder. The tension had been building for months. Small arguments over bills, over chores, over his late nights and my early mornings. I tried to be patient. I tried to remember what it felt like to be young and angry at the world. But anger has a way of growing roots. That night the argument started over something small. It always does. I had gone down to the basement to check the breaker box. The lights had flickered upstairs, and I didn't want an electrical issue turning into a fire hazard. Ethan followed me down, already irritated. "You're always checking on things," he muttered. "It's my house," I said calmly. "I have to." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Exactly, your house, your rules, your lectures." I turned to face him, confused. "What is this about?" "You think I don't see it," he snapped. "You look at me like I'm a failure." The words stung more than I expected. "I don't think you're a failure," I said quietly. "I think you're lost." Wrong thing to say. His face hardened. "You always think you know everything." "Ethan, I'm trying to help you." "Help," he scoffed. "You control everything." The air felt heavy down there, the low ceiling, the concrete walls, the faint smell of dust and detergent. I remember thinking we should take this upstairs, that basements are not places for emotional conversations. But pride kept me planted. "I am your father," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "and I will not apologize for caring." Something shifted in his eyes then, not anger. Resentment. "You never cared about what I wanted," he said. "You only cared about what you thought was right." "That's not true." "It is." I stepped toward him, not aggressively, just to close the distance, to reach him. His hand came up to my chest. It wasn't a punch. It was a shove. A quick, frustrated, thoughtless shove. But the stairs were right behind me. There is a moment when you're falling, where time splits open. I remember the cold rush of air against my face. The sharp crack of my shoulder hitting wood. The impossible sensation of my body twisting, without control. And then darkness. When I woke up, I was at the bottom of the stairs. The basement light hummed above me. My head throbbed, my ribs felt like they were on fire. I tried to move and pain shot through my leg. I heard breathing. Ethan stood at the top of the stairs. He looked small. Smaller than he had in years. "Dad," he whispered. I tried to speak, but only a groan came out. He didn't move. Didn't run down to help. Didn't call an ambulance. He just stood there. And in that moment, something inside me broke, not a bone. Trust. Eventually he came down. His hands shook as he helped me sit up. "I didn't mean to," he kept saying. "I didn't mean to." I believed him. But intention doesn't undo gravity. He helped me upstairs and onto the couch. My shoulder was swelling fast. My leg wouldn't bear weight. "We should go to the hospital," he said. "You should have thought of that before," I replied, bitterness leaking into my voice before I could stop it. He flinched. We sat in silence for a long time. Then he said something I will never forget. Don't tell anyone. It wasn't a request. It was fear. And maybe shame. The hospital confirmed what I already suspected: fractured collarbone, 2 cracked ribs, severe bruising, and a mild concussion. They asked how it happened. I said I slipped. I have spent my life protecting my son. Apparently, even from himself. The weeks that followed were quiet, too quiet. Ethan was attentive. He cooked, cleaned, drove me to follow-up appointments. He barely left the house. He looked haunted. But something in me had shifted. I watched him differently. And I watched myself. What kind of father raises a son who can push him? Where had I gone wrong? Was I too strict, too distant, too controlling? Pain gives you a lot of time to think. One evening, about 3 weeks after the fall, I overheard Ethan on the phone in the kitchen. "I can't do this anymore," he whispered. My heart tightened. Yeah, I messed up really bad. Silent. I don't know what to do. I realized then he wasn't angry anymore. He was drowning, and I had been too busy nursing my own hurt to see it. That night, I made a decision. I went into my bedroom, closed the door, and picked up my phone. Just one call. That's all it took to change everything. I didn't call the police. I called a therapist. Not for him. For us. When I told Ethan the next morning, he froze. "You think I'm crazy?" he asked. "I think we're both hurting," I said, "and pretending it didn't happen won't fix it." He looked at me for a long time. Then he nodded. The first session was brutal. We sat on opposite ends of a small couch in a softly lit office. The therapist asked simple questions that felt like daggers. "What were you feeling when you pushed him?" Ethan's voice cracked, like I was 12 again, like nothing I did was good enough. I swallowed hard. "And what were you feeling, Mark?" she asked me. I hesitated. Disappointed. Saying it out loud made it real. The therapist leaned forward gently. "Disappointed in him, or in yourself?" That question unraveled me. Over the next months, we dug into things neither of us had dared to face. My long hours at work when he was young. The way I dismissed his dream of becoming a musician because it wasn't practical. The pressure I put on him to be stable, responsible, successful, because I grew up with nothing and feared he would too. He carried my fear like a weight. And I mistook his rebellion for laziness. The shove down the stairs wasn't about that moment. It was about years of unspoken resentment. That doesn't excuse it, but it explains it. One evening, after a particularly hard session, Ethan sat across from me at the dinner table. "I'm sorry," he said. Not the rushed, panicked apology from the basement. A real one. "I scared myself," he admitted. "I never want to be that person." I looked at him, really looked at him. He wasn't a boy anymore. He was a man trying to confront his own darkness. "I'm sorry too," I said, "for not listening." He shook his head. "You were trying." Trying isn't always enough. We both smiled, faint but genuine. It took a year. A year of therapy, of arguments handled differently, of boundaries, of hard truths. Ethan got a part-time job at a recording studio. Not exactly what I had imagined for him. But when I saw him behind that mixing board, eyes focused, shoulders relaxed, I understood something important. Success looks different for everyone. And control is not the same as care. Today, as I tell you this story at 55 years old, my shoulder still aches when it rains. A reminder, but not of the fall. Of the turning point. Because that one phone call, that choice to seek help instead of revenge, understanding instead of punishment, changed the trajectory of our relationship. I could have pressed charges. I could have told the world. I could have let pride destroy what was left. Instead, I chose healing. And so did he. Last month, Ethan moved into his own apartment. Before he left, he stood at the top of those basement stairs. He looked down at them for a long time. "I hate these stairs," he said quietly. I walked over and placed a hand on his shoulder. "They're just wooden nails," I replied. "They only hold the weight we give them." He nodded. Then he hugged me tight, steady, like he used to when he was small. Here is the truth I have learned. Children do not stop needing guidance when they grow up. Parents do not stop needing humility. Anger can break a family in seconds, but accountability can rebuild it. If you are a parent reading this, do not let pride keep you from listening. If you are a child carrying resentment, do not let silence turn it into something violent. And if you ever find yourself at the bottom of your own staircase, bruised, betrayed, and unsure what to do next, remember this. One call can change everything. Not to punish, but to heal. Because love is not proven by control. It is proven by the courage to repair what is broken. And sometimes, the strongest thing a father can do at 55 years old is ask for help.